this, we're going to be comparing and contrasting different distributions. With this being said, we're actually going to talk about shape with the mean, median, and mode, as well as outliers. So it is kind of a little bit of what you would have watched the day before. So something to talk about, we're first going to talk about outliers a little bit. We know that we need to calculate outliers using the 1.5 times the IQR. Okay. When you have outliers and when you don't have outliers, that kind of determines which central tendency you should use when you're looking at a distribution. So let's say you have no outliers. If you do not have any outliers, you want to use the mean. Yes, you can still have all three, but the mean is the most accurate one to use for comparing when you're looking at two different distributions. If there are outliers, you need to use the mode or median. And I'm just going to tell you this, that generally it'll be the median. The reason why is because obviously if you don't have a mode, it's kind of hard to compare your distribution, and it's a little bit easier to compare it because you can take it and plot your box and whisker plot without the outliers, so then you can see the median a little bit better, and it's easier overall just to look at it. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is when I'm looking at a distribution and it's skewed. Okay, so this one we know is skew right. And I want to talk to you guys about the central measures of tendency. If you have a skew right graph, your highest point is going to be your mode. And that makes sense, it's the most frequent number. The middle one is always going to be your median. And if your graph is skew right, the mean gets pulled towards that skew. So your mean is always the one closest out of the central tendencies. It's the closest to the skew. So on the flip side of that, let's say we have a skew left. I know that this first one has to be the mean because it's pulled towards the skew. The middle one is the median, and the highest one is your mode. So this kind of gives you an idea of what to do. Just because it's skew doesn't necessarily mean that you always have outliers. So that's something that you need to be working with when you're doing your comparisons, is trying to figure out which is the best central tendency to use for comparisons. Because, you know, if you're comparing a mode and a median, those are totally different measures of central tendency, so you can't necessarily compare them. You need to compare with the same measure. So let me give you an example. So for this example, let's say that I had a computer class and the kids had to type how many words they need in a minute. So Monica can type words per minute. She can do 40. She did a 40, 50. And this would be, you know, in different trial periods. 52, 52. 53, 54, and 57. John, on the other hand, can type 47, 48, 53, 53, 54, and 59. Okay, so when we look at this, it's not easy to, tell right away which one probably can type faster. So that's something where you can use those central tendencies in order to figure out who actually can type faster. So if I'm going to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list out my mean, my mode, and my median. And the great thing is I've already entered it into the calculator. So Monica's mean is 51.1. Her mode here is 52. And her median is 52. Now John, on the other hand, has a mean of 51.6, a mode of 47 and 53, and then has a median of 53. So in this case, it actually does work out that John's mean, mode, and median are all higher than Monica's. So we can say that John can type faster. But sometimes you will have to vary this. And with this one, I kind of knew right away that there wouldn't be any outliers. So after you find your mean, median, and mode, determine if there are outliers to figure out which central tendency is best. And like I said, from this we can determine that John is our one that is going to type faster. And this one just happened to work out that the mean, mode, and median were all higher than Monica's, but that is something you need to look at, is determine the outliers and then figure out which central tendency to use.